Welcome today. We are taking a look at the syllabus for 1 Corinthians class. We hope that you'll have three distinct pieces of literature in front of you, pieces of paper, PDFs, whatever the case may be. First of all, you need the syllabus for 1 Corinthians to travel through this instructional video with me. Number two, you will need the reading schedule for 1 Corinthians. I'll be referring to that. And number three, you need the background information assignment that is connected to the book of 1 Corinthians. All three you should have in your possession and have them handy so that as we cover the information, you can look at it, look at the examples, and follow me along with the syllabus. A syllabus is a course description that basically tells us what we hope to or plan to cover during the course of the semester. It also gives us the work outlay for the semester, at least that which is planned. And we always do our very best to estimate, one might say guesstimate, what we're going to do and then let you know in advance. As sophomores or as people that have already taken a course from us as a second year group, a lot of this you've been through, so it's not news to you. You don't have to go through the procedure as strongly as a freshman class might, but at the same time you do need reminders. So let's just take a look. First of all, the course description. This course, 1 Corinthians, is a concentrated expositional study on 1 Corinthians. We will do our best to complete the entire book. However, due to time constraints, some portions of the book may need to be summarized in class lecture as opposed to a detailed study. Now, I can guarantee you that doing 16 chapters of 1 Corinthians in a detailed study is not going to happen. For instance, 1 Corinthians 15 on the resurrection, 58 verses. We're going to have to move through some of that fast. It'll be near the end of the semester when we get there. Along with chapter 16, some of the greetings and things like this, we'll try to move through fast. So while we will detail some of it, we aren't really going to be able to do anything but summarize other portions of it. And remember that any study of the book any study of a book of the Bible is incomplete. You're not going to be able to get the whole Bible in any one class, or a whole Bible book in any one class. It's an impossibility. But we should lay down the foundation for what is needful and what is basic for that book, so that you have a strong foundation upon which to build the rest of your study, the rest of your life, and even into eternity. The required texts, we're going to require three texts. Number one, a King James Version Bible. I will teach you from the King James Version. Therefore, all of the clauses, phrases, definitions of specific words that I give you will be from the King James. So I want you to follow along with me. I don't want you to second guess where I am or what I'm saying, and I'm not against a good word-for-word translation. We'll talk about that in a moment outside of the King James Version. But I want us to be looking at the same text together, so you'll need a version of the King James Version Bible. Secondly, you'll need a copy of the Expositor's Study Bible, and this can be for 1 Corinthians, obviously, a New Testament, or you can have the whole Bible, either one. And thirdly, I'm going to ask that you keep a word-for-word translation that is other than the King James Version. On the syllabus, I have three suggestions for you: a New King James Version, a New American Standard Bible, or the ESV, the English Standard Version. All of these are good word-for-word translations. If you want to use something in your assignments, and we'll talk about that as we go, other than those three word-for-word translations, you'll need to get an okay from me. Bring it to me and let's discuss what other translation you want to read. And it'll primarily just be in your reading assignment. In letter B under required text, we find 1 Corinthians, the Tyndale New Testament series, author Leon Morris. The Tyndale New Testament series is a great little commentary. It's concise. Its background information is searching and long. It does a great job in establishing the context for most books of the Bible. Its commentary is not elongated. It is, as I say, concise. In just a few sentences, you can read either a thought or a comment or an estimation or a definition given by the authors of this great little group of writings. And I feel that it is appropriate that you hear from a variety of sources. In this class, then, you would hear from Brother Swigert in his commentary in the Expositor Study Bible. You would hear from me as the lecturer in the course, and you would hear from Leon Morris as you read the concise notes on the Tyndale series. It's not so much reading that it would overwhelm you, and yet it will teach you, I believe, the value that there is safety in a multitude of counselors. And so we want to accomplish that for you as we study together. So these are required texts. You'll have to have them. You buy the Tyndale from us, and everything else I'm trusting you will get on your own. Course requirements. First of all, reading. In order to understand my assignment here, I need you to take a look at the reading schedule for 1 Corinthians. It's a separate sheet, and you should have on it reading schedule for 1 Corinthians. It says this. This is a reading schedule for 1 Corinthians. There will be weekly periodic checks as to the student's progress. So each week we'll check whether or not you've done what this reading schedule has assigned to you. It will be for a grade each week. The week includes 3 read-throughs from the King James Version, 1 read-through from the Expositor Study Bible, and a 5th read-through by another word-for-word translation. In addition, the correlating chapters are to be read from the Tyndale text. The idea is this, and here's how I would do it if I were you, and I plan on carrying out the same assignment that I'm giving you in regard to reading of 1 Corinthians. On Monday, read 1 Corinthians chapter 1, and you can see the date and the chapter assigned. And sit down and just read it. It'll take you anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes tops, if that, just for a read-through. You're not studying, you're not detailing, you're not taking notes. You're just becoming acquainted with what's in the text. On Tuesday, read it again in the King James Version. On Wednesday, read it again, but now utilize the Expositor Study Bible and read Brother Swigert's commentary. You've had several days alone thinking about the text. Now listen to someone as they explain the text, at least in a concise manner. Then on Thursday, you'll go to another version, whatever that is that you've chosen, and on Friday go back to the King James Version. Again, it doesn't matter what the order is, but 3 King James Version, 1 Expositors, and 1 word-for-word translation. 5 times you read chapter 1. Then in the course of that week as well, you're required to cover the Tyndale series and verses, and not verses, but the pages assigned in your reading schedule. So chapter 1 you will read 5 times, and you'll read pages 19 through 55. Now that first read through is a little more extensive, but it also ties into a background assignment that we'll talk about in just a moment. After that, when you go to 9:11, 9:18, 9:25, you're going to find that for most cases, the Tyndale will only be about 10 pages of reading. So don't panic, just look it over. In some cases, such as the week 9:25 and the week 10:16, instead of 1 chapter, I've assigned you 2. This is so that we have time for the material, and I've combined 2 chapters that where one of them was less in number of verses, so that in reality the 2 combined probably won't be as many as some of the individual chapters by themselves. So we keep that reading balanced, we keep it spread out. So once again, how you do it, is up to you, but I hope you're getting the idea. And again, Monday King James Version, Tuesday King James Version, Thursday you can go to other translation or the expositors, and then but do this process every single week. Once a day, read the text. If you go into the weekend, that's fine. It's still up to you. But when we come to class, when we ask you about your reading, the first reading assignment will be due on the 4th of September. And so those dates on your reading schedule are when I will ask you, have you completed the reading for the previous week? On 9/4, I'm going to ask you, did you read? So it's time to get reading, because this is going to happen right away, and then we'll on-go it all the way through the end of the year, or the end of the semester. So the reading schedule is important. By now, those of you that have been in the courses understand the need for note-taking, and that's your next section on your syllabus. We ask you to take good notes in class. If you're here and you're not taking notes either on an iPad or a computer or handwritten notes, I promise you're just not serious about learning, because the things that are said that impact you, you need to write down. Now, each professor is a little bit different, and you will learn how he emphasizes things, how she emphasizes things, and you'll learn what notes to take, and especially by the end of the first exam, that'll be clear to you. But note-taking is an important process in learning. So be sure that you are engaged in that and not engaged in texting other people and talking on the phone. If I see phones busy in my classroom, I take them. They're mine until the end of the class. Background assignment, letter C. You have a handout on the background assignment. Please pull that out and look at it. Those of you that have had me for Bible book classes, you already know what I'm going to ask you to do. Establish the background and setting for the book of 1 Corinthians. Utilize the reference section of the library, and in addition to your Tyndale source, look up at least 2 different sources other than the Tyndale. There's good information to be found in study Bibles, Bible dictionaries, encyclopedias, or commentaries. So you can look up the questions or the answers to the questions posed in your handout in any of that. But I want you to become acquainted with the library. Some of you will be getting your information online, and that's certainly good and acceptable. Others of you have purchased programs such as Libronics, Logos, QuickVerse, and you're utilizing that. They are certainly qualified as sources. It's what I use all the time. So what you're going to do is you're going to look up the information that you need to find in at least 3 different sources, at least 3, and then you're going to evaluate what you found and answer these questions. On the back side of your handout, you can see the examples of what I expect to see when you finish this assignment, what it should look like. And I used another student's work in several questions to show you. I'm looking for a paragraph on each question. Now, obviously, Paul is the author, and you don't need to talk about that if you don't want to at length, but you should maybe take a look, see whether or not he was opposed as an author, see if early church fathers embraced the thought of him as the author, etc., etc. All of those things fall into you becoming better acquainted with the book and the setting. Again, when most likely was the book written? You're going to find from your variety of sources that a lot of people don't agree. There's some major division as far as when a book was written. And while we may never come to a finalized conclusion in our lifetime, at least knowing what the options are and why people think what they think about the date, it's important, and it's vital in some cases on how you interpret what's being said and what's being done. Finally, on question number 10, it says list the 3 different sources used. You can see an example of that right there on the page. And again, most of you have done this before, but Holman Bible Dictionary, NIV Study Bible, whatever the case may be. I don't need a works-cited bibliography. I don't need details. I don't need 2 lines of information. I just need the name of your source and the author, or the name of your source and the publisher. And if nothing else, for heaven's sake, give me the name of your source so that I realize that you have, in fact, fulfilled the assignment and looked at a variety of information. You will be required to outline the entirety of 1 Corinthians, 16 chapters divided into 3 paragraphs. I have an instructional video for you, or an instructional, I guess it's an online video that you'll need to go to and take a look at, and we'll give you the web address for that so that you can get, if you have not done this ever before, or maybe you just forgot what my requirements are, then you can go to that website and look at that instructional video. Our study guides and our summaries are going to work hand in hand. What's going to happen is, because there's times when we have to summarize, move quickly through an arena of scriptures, that I'll ask you to summarize what we summarized. When we go details and there's certain things that I want you to know, I'll prepare study guides for you, and you will be working on those, probably some detailed, some summaries. Some chapters will have study guides for, others will have summaries. And as we move through it, we'll have to make that decision as we go. And so I haven't predetermined study guide versus summary. It'll be a week-by-week decision, but each week we should have a conclusion of a chapter, and we'll decide at that point whether it'll be a study guide, a handout that you have to fill in the answers to, or a summary, an arena where you talk about what we have studied. But in either way, you're going to be going back to your notes, looking at your notes, evaluating what you've learned, and commenting on it or defining things that have been clearly stated in lecture, and then we'll agree together on what is most important. Now, both the summaries and the study guides will be the foremost information source for your exams. We're scheduled now to have 3 exams in this class, and so the study guides and the summaries taken from your notes will be primary sources for studying for the exams. And if you know me, you know I don't try to trick you in your exams. I'll let you know everything that you need to know or can know about that exam before it happens. My grading procedures have not changed. The exams and the outline are 60% of your grade. Reading, study guides, other assignments, commentaries, or summaries rather, are 40% of your grade, or any other assignment I choose to give you. I do not look favorably upon a person that just decides, well, I know what the percentages are, so I'm not going to do this assignment, and I'm not going to do that. And that's one of the reasons why I've actually put C in here as my prerogative, and that's to lower your grade or raise your grade for as much as a full grade level, a single grade level. I can take you from a B to an A. I can take you from a B to a C. That is my choice based on your class participation, your class attitude, all of that. I just reserve that right. And most of the time what happens is I use it in this manner. A student has gotten to the place where their grade is maybe a B plus, and I think they have an A minus attitude. And so I'll bump them up to a higher grade because of what they've done. If a person is borderline and they really haven't paid attention, their work is not in as it ought to be, their attitude primarily and spirit isn't what they ought to be. Let's face it, not everybody's a straight A student. Some people are gaining the information and their spirit is good and their spirit is right. I can reward that. Or if your spirit is bad, if you've got a stinky spirit, I can remove some points for that too. So be good in class, absolutely. Student responsibility, most of you understand this already. Everything that I ask you to do will have a certain time frame, a date. You'll know well in advance when the date is due, when the assignment is due. And what I ask you to do is turn it in at the very beginning of the class on the day that that assignment is due. After class has begun, your assignment, if it's not turned in, is late. And what I do is I subtract 10 points automatically for anything that's turned in to me late. Now, the other side of that, which is a positive, I understand that sometimes life just throws you a curve and you can't get everything in that you wanted to. And so we allow you a whole week, 7 days, to get that assignment in, even if it's late. So if you don't have it at the beginning of class, don't panic and try to give it to me that day. Do a good job on it, check it out, do it well, and turn it in sometime before that next week is up. After that week is up, for instance, if I require something of you on a Wednesday morning, then by Wednesday morning the following week, if I don't have your assignment, it's too late. And the problem with this is that a goose egg, a 0, when averaging out your grade, doesn't go far. It hurts extremely so. I'll take 10 points off of your grade, but getting an 85 instead of a 95 is a whole lot better turning something in late than getting a goose egg or a 0. So we'll expect that you'll do the work. Again, I do not look favorably upon someone who says, well, my grade's high enough, I don't have to do a certain assignment. That doesn't fly in this class, and it doesn't cause you to learn what you came here to learn. We're here to learn the Bible. We're here to learn 1 Corinthians, and I think that working together, we've got all things in place to really have a great time and experience the moving of the Holy Spirit and learn together. So that's your covering of your syllabus for 1 Corinthians, and keep it in heart, keep it in mind. Don't panic. Take it a little bit at a time. Do a little bit every day, and you're going to come through just fine.